Have you ever been completely blindsided by a woman's feelings? One moment she's warm, attentive, and even flirty, but the next she's distant and ice cold, leaving you scrambling for answers. It's a frustrating mystery that leaves most guys spinning their wheels. But wait until you hear the real reason why this happens, because it's probably not what you think. Welcome back to Female Mind Decode. If you're enjoying this deep dive so far, smash that like button right now. It really helps the channel out. Today, I'm going to show you a secret that most men go their whole lives without ever figuring out. Believe it or not, women actually fall in love for just two specific reasons. Not three, not five, and definitely not because of the things you usually see in movies. Once you grasp these two pillars, you'll start seeing the patterns in every single relationship you've ever had, and it's going to change everything for you. Here is the blunt truth that most people are too afraid to tell you. Women don't fall for who you are as a person. They fall for the way you make them feel. That is the bottom line. Every single time you talk to her, every look you share, and every word you say, she is subconsciously measuring your emotional impact on her. She's asking herself, do I feel safe? Is this exciting? Does he make me feel seen and desired? These aren't just superficial thoughts, they are deeply hardwired into the female brain. If you miss this, you'll always be the guy who's chasing someone who won't ever truly commit to you. But here's the crazy part. Most men are doing the exact opposite of what actually works, and they don't even know it. Let's break down the first reason, which is security. Now, I'm not just talking about having a fat bank account, though that can be a factor. I'm talking about something much deeper: emotional, mental, and social security. A woman is looking for a man who acts as an anchor when things get chaotic. She wants someone whose very presence makes her feel protected in a world that is constantly trying to mess with her peace of mind. But pay close attention here. It's not about being a perfect person. It's about being consistent, staying calm, and having a quiet, subtle strength that proves you can handle the storms of life. When a woman feels that from you, she finally relaxes. She lets her guard down, and that is the exact moment when a deep attachment starts to grow, sometimes so fast that you won't even realize when it started. If you're finding this helpful, make sure to hit subscribe and tap the bell so you don't miss our next video. Now, this is where it gets really interesting because security is only half the battle. The second reason is desire. This isn't just about physical attraction, it's about emotional and intellectual desire. Women want to feel a pull toward you. They want to be challenged and genuinely intrigued by who you are. They fall for the man who makes them feel truly alive and whose energy sparks something inside them. If you're too predictable, too passive, or just emotionally flat, that spark is never going to catch fire. But if you understand how to use subtle tension, how to engage in playful banter, and how to maintain your own frame, you become absolutely magnetic. Most men fail because they only focus on one side of this. They either try to be the nice protector or the exciting spark, but they never combine the two. The balance between these two things is everything. Mastering this duality completely changes how women look at you. They won't just notice you, they won't be able to stop thinking about you. You might be wondering how to actually do this without looking like you're trying too hard. Well, by the end of this video, you're going to know exactly how to trigger both of these feelings effortlessly. Let's look closer at that first reason, security, because if you get this wrong, you'll keep falling into that same annoying trap. Meeting women who seem into you at first, but then suddenly drift away. Security isn't about your muscles or showing off your status symbols. While those can help, the core of security is actually certainty. A woman needs to know that when you say something, it holds weight. She needs to feel that when things get messy, you aren't going to fall apart. When the world tests you, she needs to see that you won't break under the pressure. Think about it for a second. Have you ever seen a guy who wasn't rich, wasn't flashy, and maybe wasn't even that good looking, yet he always had women orbiting him? You probably asked yourself, what does he have that I don't? The answer is simple. His presence makes women feel grounded. She knows he won't lose his cool if she tests him, and she knows he won't get desperate if she decides to pull back for a bit. That kind of rock-solid steadiness is like a magnet because it offers something most people are completely missing. You see, women live in a world where their feelings can change as fast as the weather. Between hormones, social pressure, and constant noise, they deal with waves of instability that most men don't even realize are happening. So, when she finds a man whose emotional core is steady, he becomes her shelter in the storm. True confidence isn't about being loud or acting like you're better than everyone else. It's actually found in the quiet energy of a man who simply doesn't get rattled. If you're finding this helpful so far, go ahead and smash that like button. Most guys miss the fact that security is shown in tiny moments, like how you handle a long silence when she's upset, or how you don't feel the need to over-explain yourself when she questions you. It's about standing by your values without being pushy about them. Women are experts at reading these signals, often picking them up before you even speak a word. When she feels that inner strength, she finally feels safe enough to relax into her feminine side. That's exactly when those feelings of love start to grow. But here is the crazy part that you need to listen to very carefully. Being a source of security doesn't mean you should let her treat you like a punching bag or say yes to every single thing she wants. That isn't care, it's just weakness disguised as being nice. True security comes from having strong boundaries and self-respect. You have to show her that you can love her deeply while still standing on your own 2 feet. It sounds backward, but when she realizes you're the kind of man who would actually walk away if he's disrespected, her respect for you goes through the roof. This is the big reason why some guys find it so easy to get a commitment, while others get stuck in the friend zone forever. Women aren't looking for a man they can boss around. They want a man who builds a foundation they can actually lean on. Now, this is where it gets interesting because we have to talk about the second big reason women fall in love: desire. Here is a hard truth you need to hear. Security without desire is just comfort, and comfort doesn't create passion. This is exactly why so many good guys get stuck being the nice guy. She might appreciate you, she might respect you, and she might even tell you she cares, but her heart isn't racing when you walk into the room. Desire is what makes her feel restless in the best possible way. It's that spark that keeps you on her mind when you're not there, the reason she's smiling at her phone for no reason, and the reason she's replaying your conversations while she's trying to fall asleep. Before we dive into what actually triggers that spark, hit subscribe and tap that bell so you don't miss our next deep dive. So, what actually creates that intense desire? It's not just about your looks, your bank account, or some lines you practiced in the mirror. Desire is born from contrast. It happens when a man has depth, layers that she can't fully predict or control. That feeling grows when she senses you are just a little bit out of reach. Not because you're playing childish mind games, but because you have a real life, a mission, and an energy that she feels she has to earn her way into. Women want to be chosen by a man. They don't want a man's entire soul handed to them on a silver platter the very first day. Think about it for a second. The guys who really trigger desire aren't the ones texting her every 5 minutes, oversharing, or chasing her down. They are the men who hold their ground, who let the silence breathe, and who look her in the eyes with total certainty. They know how to flirt with a mix of fun and mystery. You see, desire is all about tension, and tension needs space to grow. When she doesn't know exactly how you feel, or when she realizes you have other things going on, that's when her desire for you really explodes. Here's the paradox that most guys just don't get. If you try too hard to make her want you, you'll lose her. The act of chasing, proving yourself, or trying to convince her actually kills the vibe. Why? Because you can't force desire, you have to evoke it. It's triggered when your presence shows her that you are a man she could potentially lose. A man who doesn't need her, but chooses her anyway. That choice makes her feel more alive than anything else. And here's something even deeper. Women often get confused when desire takes over like this. They'll try to make sense of it, they'll fight against it, or even try to deny it, but they can't escape the feeling. Which one of these points surprised you the most? Drop it in the comments below. You've probably seen this happen before. She might tell you to your face that you aren't really her type, yet she keeps finding reasons to show up in your life. She might swear up and down that she isn't interested, but her body language and her actions tell a completely different story. That right there is the power of raw desire. It completely bypasses the logical brain and hooks directly into her deepest emotions. But here is where the truth gets a little bit uncomfortable for most guys. Having security without any desire makes you a safe choice, but it also makes you totally forgettable. On the flip side, having desire without any security makes you incredibly exciting, but also very replaceable. Most men fail in their relationships because they lean way too heavily on one of these sides while completely ignoring the other. The nice guy is the one who builds all the security. He is always there for her, always available to talk, and always supportive of everything she does. But the problem is she never feels that intense magnetic pull toward him. Instead of being her lover, he slowly becomes her therapist or her provider of comfort. He isn't her man, he's her safety net. If you're finding this helpful so far, do me a quick favor and smash that like button so I know to keep making more content like this. Now, on the other side of things, you have the player who creates wild, intense desire. She literally cannot stop thinking about him and becomes addicted to his unpredictable energy. However, since there is no real security there, she never truly trusts him with her heart. That is exactly why she might keep him around for the passion, but she's secretly looking somewhere else for actual stability. Women want both of these things at once, but here is the big secret. They don't actually expect to find both in every man they meet. That is why you hear so many women say things like, he's a great guy, but or he's so exciting, but he's just not the one. What she is actually saying is that the guy gave her one reason to fall for him, but he didn't give her both. Without both elements present, love can't really grow deep roots. It stays shallow, temporary, and based on conditions. You might think this sounds nearly impossible to pull off. You're wondering, how can I be both the steady rock and the wild storm at the same time? But that exact combination is what awakens the deepest parts of a woman's psychology. She wants to feel protected and deeply desired in the same moment. She wants to feel your inner strength, but she also wants the thrill of your unpredictability. She wants to know for a fact that you aren't going anywhere, but she also needs to feel that you could walk away in a heartbeat if she starts to disrespect you. This duality is what makes her love you in a way that is different from anyone else she has ever known. But here's the crazy part where men usually sabotage themselves. They either give way too much security because they think it will buy them affection, or they overplay the desire part thinking it will make them totally irresistible. Both of these paths usually backfire. Why? Because when you offer way too much security, she starts to take your presence for granted. When you rely only on sparking desire, she eventually assumes she can never truly trust you. The balance you need is very subtle, but it is incredibly powerful. You show her security by being consistent, staying calm, and being reliable. You spark that fire of desire by being a little unpredictable, a bit playful, and always just slightly out of her reach. Too much stability becomes boring, while too much chaos becomes exhausting. But when you mix them together, it becomes absolutely intoxicating. That is when a woman cannot stop thinking about you, even if she tries to push you out of her head. This is the main reason why some men become unforgettable legends in a woman's life, while others just fade into a distant memory. By the way, if you want to master these psychological triggers, hit that subscribe button and tap the bell so you never miss our next deep dive. Now, this is where it gets really interesting. If you have ever felt like a woman was playing mind games with you, let me tell you the honest truth. She wasn't just playing around, she was actually testing you. Those tests are not random at all. They are deeply hardwired into the female brain. Every woman, whether she realizes it or not, will test you to see if you can actually provide both that security and that desire. It isn't because she wants to hurt your feelings. It's because her heart and her future depend on finding a man who can handle it. Think about this for a second. When she suddenly pulls away, or doesn't text you back for hours, or starts giving you attitude for no obvious reason, most men start to panic. They start chasing her. They over-explain themselves. They beg her for some kind of clarity. That desperate reaction instantly kills both the security and the desire she felt. Why? Because it proves to her that your emotions are fragile, that you are easily rattled, and that you need her constant approval just to feel stable. A man who falls apart under that kind of pressure communicates nothing but weakness. And weakness, no matter how kind or generous you are, never builds true attraction. Now I want you to flip the script. Imagine a scenario where she withdraws, and instead of chasing after her, you remain completely calm, patient, and totally unshaken by her distance. Instead of blowing up or giving in, you stay totally cool. You don't try to fix her mood or rush to make things okay. You give her the space she needs while you keep living your best life. That kind of calmness is actually a huge turn on because it shows her you aren't a slave to her emotions. You are the one setting the vibe for the relationship. If you're finding these tips helpful so far, go ahead and drop a like. It really helps the channel out. Now, here is where it gets even more interesting. She is going to test your values. She might make fun of your big goals, question your decisions, or push against the boundaries you've set. Most guys just fold because they think being a yes man will make her love them more. But that's a total trap. When you drop your standards just to please her, you lose her respect and her attraction instantly. A man who stands his ground without getting angry or acting like a jerk is the man she knows she can actually trust. But here's the crazy part. She'll even give you small chances to lead just to see how you handle them. Think about the little things like picking a place to eat, planning the weekend, or handling a small problem during the day. If you can't make a decision, she feels uneasy and unsafe. If you're too bossy, she feels trapped and controlled. But if you lead with a quiet, calm confidence, she feels both secure and excited all at once. You have to realize that these tests aren't meant to hurt you. They are an invitation. She wants to see if you're the guy her heart can trust and her body can crave at the same time. If you fail the test, the attraction fades. But if you pass, her feelings get deeper without her even trying. Now, hold on, because this next part is something most guys completely overlook. Before a woman ever says, "I love you," her body and her actions have already started shouting it. These signs are quiet, but if you know what to look for, you'll see them everywhere. By the way, if you want to keep mastering these social dynamics, hit subscribe and tap the bell so you don't miss our next deep dive. The first big sign is her focus. A woman who's falling for you doesn't just give you her time, she gives you her full attention. She'll start remembering the tiny things like how you take your coffee or a story you told about your childhood. She's noticing habits you didn't even know you had. That's not just being polite, that's her mind literally locking onto you. But wait, there's an even deeper level to this. Watch how she shares her secrets. When she starts telling you about her real fears, her insecurities, or her private dreams, she's letting her guard down. Most women don't do this for just anyone. If she's opening up, it means she feels a rare kind of security with you. Just be careful. If you brush off those deep feelings and she feels ignored, it could change everything. She puts those parts of herself on display and waits to see if you actually notice. If you pick up on it and stay calm and confident, her love for you gets way deeper. But if you miss those signs, that's when doubt starts to grow and she begins to wonder if she picked the wrong guy. Now here is the heartbreaking part you need to know. Most men actually ruin their own relationships without even knowing they are doing it. A woman starts to fall for them, her signals are all there, and her heart is opening up. But instead of protecting that spark, men accidentally put it out. They kill the vibe with their own insecurity, by caring too much too fast, or by losing control of their emotions. Then they sit there wondering what went wrong. They ask themselves why she went cold when things were going so well. If you're finding this helpful so far, do me a huge favor and smash that like button right now. It really helps the channel out. But let me tell you exactly why this happens. Because the first big mistake is over-validation. When a woman shows she's interested, a lot of guys go into total overdrive. They give endless compliments, they text her every 5 minutes, and they drown her in attention. At first, she might think it's sweet, but pretty soon, it feels off. Why does that happen? It's because when you give away everything too fast, she feels like you don't value yourself. She hasn't done anything to earn that much devotion yet, so she starts to wonder why you're so desperate to give it away. It actually makes her trust you less. Now, this is where it gets really interesting. The second mistake is being needy but calling it caring. You think you're being a great guy by wanting to see her every single day or asking if she's okay every hour. You're trying to be her whole world, but to her, that feels like massive pressure. It shows her that you don't have a life of your own, and if you don't have your own goals, you lose your value in her eyes. Women fall for men who have their own path, not guys who try to make her their only hobby. Make sure you hit that subscribe button and tap the bell icon so you never miss out on our future videos. The third mistake is being emotionally unstable. Maybe she tests you a little, or maybe she just needs some space and you react by getting angry, panicking, or acting like a child. That kills her sense of safety and her attraction to you instantly. If she can rattle you that easily, she realizes you aren't the strong man she thought you were. Love cannot survive when things are that shaky. But here is the most damaging mistake of all: losing your mystery. When a man tells her every single thought, every feeling, and every plan he has, he leaves nothing for her to find out on her own. Love needs curiosity to stay alive. When you take away that mystery, you kill the spark. She already knows everything about you. She feels like she has you completely, and suddenly the excitement is just gone. What most men don't get is that love isn't usually destroyed by one big fight. It dies slowly through tiny mistakes like sharing too much, giving too much, and overreacting. Once that fire is out, she doesn't come back the same. She might still be there physically, but her heart has already moved on. Now, we are getting to the real truth that separates a quick crush from a bond that lasts a lifetime. A woman might fall for you because she feels safe and attracted, but she stays in love for one specific reason: because you keep being the man who gave her those feelings in the first place. Love isn't a trophy you win once and put on a shelf. It's a fire you have to keep feeding, not with crazy, expensive gifts, but by staying consistent in who you are. This is the part most guys never understand. Women don't usually leave because they stopped loving the man. They leave because the man stopped being the person she fell for. Over time, he got lazy. He stopped leading the way. He stopped challenging her or making her feel alive. The balance shifted, and she started wondering where that strong man went. That is when love disappears, not because she wanted it to, but because he let it happen. To stay in her heart forever, you have to protect your own character. Never stop growing as a person. Never stop chasing your own purpose in life. You have to stay just unpredictable enough to keep her interested, but reliable enough that she can trust you with her entire soul. Which of these mistakes have you seen happen most? Drop a comment below and let me know. She needs to feel that you can protect her world, but also shake it up just enough to keep her totally hooked. That perfect balance is honestly what keeps her love burning for years or even decades. Just think about those couples who stay crazy about each other after 40 years together. It isn't just luck or some happy accident. It's because that man never lost his edge, never stopped being a challenge, and never let being comfortable turn him soft. He made her feel safe, but he also made her realize she could actually lose him if she stopped valuing what they had. But here's the most important part you need to remember. That's the strange paradox that makes love last forever. If you really want to be unforgettable, the kind of man she could never get over, you have to understand this. She falls in love for two reasons, security and desire. However, she only stays in love when you show her both of those things every single day. That is the deep truth that most men will never be told. But now, you finally know the secret. Which of these do you think she fell for in your last relationship? Was it your security or your desire? Tell me your story in the comments. If this really opened your eyes, hit that like button and share this with a friend who needs to hear this. Be the man she can't help but choose every single morning.